Hi, I'm Sydney Boles here with Burlington Town Administrator Paul Sagarino here for our monthly Town Administrator update. Paul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me as usual, Sydney.
So I want to dive right in this week because it's been a kind of a big month for us. We had May town meeting, what was that, a couple of weeks ago now?
Yep.
Feels like it's already far behind us, but I don't know, for you, is it a weight off your shoulders, back to the work? What's it like post-meeting?
Yeah, May town meeting is really a huge moment for us as a town. It's the biggest town meeting. We're passing the budget for next year, so there's a lot of work that goes into it, starting probably around December of last year, and a lot of board meetings and committee meetings, and there's a lot of hard work put into it by staff and elected and appointed officials as well. So although there is a burden lifted off your shoulders, and at this point now we got to start implementing and getting ready for all the projects that town meeting approved for us very, very graciously.
Yeah, I imagine it's also a time for you to learn about what is on people's minds, right? It's kind of a decent cross section of the community. What did you take away from the kinds of questions people were asking, or the kinds of things that people had concerns about?
Pickleball. I think that's the topic on everybody in town's mind. It's such a popular sport, and just trying to find more locations that are appropriate for people to play pickleball. I guess there's a little bit of a noise associated with it, so
just a tad.
You just want to try to find the right spot for that. But that was a huge topic at town meeting, as you know.
I mean, yeah. So tell me if I'm remembering this right. Essentially, the town meeting or the recreation department came with this plan to move the pickleball court about 75 feet away from its current location. It's a little bit higher in elevation, they had it there on a temporary basis, there was some sound benefits, but other folks were like, 75 feet, what difference is that really gonna make? What's your prognosis? Do you think this is the final destination? Do you think this is kind of a temporary fix?
I think we'll wait and see. I have some faith that it should reduce the noise a little bit, hopefully enough to make it tolerable to the neighbors. But again, I know the recreation department just does great work, and I'm sure that they're exploring all avenues in terms of where to sort of place these facilities, because it's great to see people of all age groups can play pickleball, and see people get outside and participate in the activities is just great.
Speaking of the recreation department, one of the items at town meeting was this outdoor facilities master plan, the idea that we would take a look, big picture, at all of our recreation facilities. This is a recreation department bag, so I don't know how much you would be involved or have thoughts about what that would look like, but what kind of questions is this trying to answer? What are your thoughts on this master plan initiative?
Well, I think it's a worthwhile, anytime we take time to have somebody from the outside look at what we have and what we can do, I think it's a worthwhile for the town to do so. We have an outstanding recreation department. They provide innumerable amounts of activities for our residents to participate in at a very affordable price, and we have great sports organizations in town for the youth and of all age groups, and we get a significant demand on our fields, and it's very important to have an outsider take a look at that, evaluate things, and tell us areas that we can improve on, and then at least we have a plan that we're working off. As funding becomes available, we can put it into a cohesive plan, so that we're not sort of working against ourselves and jumping around for different priorities of the day. We're focused on more of a long-term plan in terms of the fields and facilities. So I think it's a great initiative by the rec department.
Cool. Another item that came up during town meeting was the dog pound renovation. There were lots of thoughts about where that should go. Is there merit to the concerns that the proposed location, the approved location, is going to be disruptive for those big picture future plans that you were talking about?
Yeah, I don't think so at all. I know a couple of members of town meeting did feel so, but I think the garage, which was formerly part of our water department, is actually a good location. The dog pound was previously across the street from there, and I do think that people's goals in order to access the Vinebrook watershed and possibly use that as a nature area for walking and hiking and taking photographs and things of that, I think both of those uses can coexist on that site. The dog pound, it's an existing garage. It's not anything that's newly built. We're going to renovate the inside of the garage to make it an appropriate facility, but I don't think it will prohibit us from doing anything that residents have planned in terms of using the Vinebrook watershed, which is a great natural resource for the town.
I will admit, Paul, I was kind of astonished to learn about what exactly the dog pound is and does. I did not quite understand the requirements that we have as a municipality when it comes to dogs. Could you, like, for people who maybe don't know this or missed the town meeting, could you explain like what that responsibility looks like?
Yeah, and I guess I would just say that it may seem like, why do we even have a dog pound? You know, there's kennels out there, there's a million different things that we could do, but having a dog pound in town, it really is a convenience for the residents. A lot of times, an oil delivery person will leave a fence open and somebody's dogs take off and we end up gathering them. If we were to end up putting them in a kennel, they're gonna have to inoculate them, give them a bunch of shots. So you come home from work and go to pick up your dogs at the kennel and now you're $300 poorer than you were earlier that day. And unfortunately, I mean, a lot of times we come across dogs in the middle of the night. Public safety comes across them, whether they're bringing a patient to the hospital who maybe live alone and they have a pet. So we have to do something. You know, everybody is primarily concerned with their pet. So in order to make the person feel comfortable and to deal with their medical issues, you know, we need to ensure them that the dog's going to be fine. It's going to be right here in town. You know, secondarily, sometimes through law enforcement action, if someone gets pulled over and they need to get arrested for some reason, they may have their pet with them, and we have to, you know, we have a 24/7 dog operation, and there are a lot of different reasons why we should have a dog pound in town. We've had one for, you know, 50 years, I believe, in some way, shape, or form, and you know, I think this is a very good investment to keep this here. Number of private kennels out there, they're expensive. We would have to guarantee kennels there for the entire year, and certainly the flow of animals into the dog pound is very irregular. You know, you may have not a lot of activity for a period of time, and then you just might have 4 or 5 animals at one time. So it's I think it was a very good investment, and I don't think it will be disruptive to the neighborhood overall in terms of, you know, what some folks would like to do with the Vinebrook watershed.
I mean, it's just kind of incredible to think about all of the things that a town does at one time, that on top of all of the other stuff, the sewers and the roads and all of everything, there's also feeding the dogs. That's kind of bonkers.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's just one of those things that I'm sure a lot of people don't think about on a day-to-day basis, but we have going on here in town.
There you go. Last thing I want to talk about that came up at town meeting that I think was kind of interesting and that people seemed a little divided about was the Carpenter house demolition. Mm-hmm. So this is a property that's near Town Hall. Tell me if I'm getting this wrong. It's owned by the town. It's been vacant and it's kind of falling down. So what was the decision that went into asking town meeting to knock it down?
We do have this property. The town, I believe, acquired it many years ago. It abuts the town hall parking lot, and the intention was if we needed to expand the parking lot. It's not really an ideal lot. It has a very steep grade in the back. It goes down quite a bit. And years ago, when I first started working for the town, it was used by the town as an affordable. It was rented out as an affordable apartment unit. Town's not a great landlord. Shouldn't be in the landlord business. So over time, you know, payments to the town were few and far between. The house fell into disrepair, and when it was finally vacated, you know, it was in pretty much condemned condition. So the town doesn't have a lot of land. I think we talk about that a lot, how we're really poor when it comes to having municipal land to do things with. So there wasn't any desire to sell the property from the select board. So at this point in time, what we want to do is we want to take the house down and level off the lot and make it presentable for the neighborhood. And, you know, it'll be an asset for the town into the future. If somebody wishes to bring an idea forward for that property. It's very small, so ideas will be limited, but we'll have the property available. It's going to be an asset for us. Land value in Burlington is not going anywhere but up, I think. So it'll be a good investment for the town to just clean it up and hold on to it.
All right. Transitioning away from town meeting, another big issue these past couple weeks has been the question about what we're going to do about Fox Hill and Pine Glen.
Mm-hmm.
So to catch folks up, there's the Fox Hill School Building Committee, which is working with the Massachusetts School Building Authority,
Yep.
right? Yes, MSBA, to come up with a plan for this school. And also, as part of that, we also need to be considering whether we're going to combine that with Pine Glen, whether we're going to keep them separate. Everything is kind of on the table. You were on that committee. There's been a lot of, I think, concern from neighbors, from community members, from people with an interest in the school about this issue. What has been the feeling on the committee as there's been kind of this surge in attention?
I would just say as a committee member, we're several months away from even having any information or data as to what the possibilities are. So I think the discussion is just a little bit premature. I mean, it's understandable that the neighbors would have an interest in it due to traffic and things of that nature. Parents of school children in that area logically have a very keen interest in the subject matter. But what I can say as a committee member is, we've been told all along that we wouldn't have good data to even have an educated discussion on the different options until several months from now. So I would just hope that there's plenty of time for the project and the different options to be debated, and I would just hope that we could at least hold off until we have some data to actually discuss back and forth and compare and contrast.
Right. I think, oh God, my brain is going so many places. I have a lot of sympathy for the parents and community members who are taking a lot of time out of their lives to go to these meetings and talk to you guys, to the committee members, and try and get a sense for what's going on. I can imagine it's really frustrating to feel like the future of your kids' education is in some ways in the hands of this committee that you don't necessarily have a ton of sway over.
Yeah, I mean, it's just logical. Parents, it's one of the most important things. Their children and their children's education is of foremost importance to them. But like I say, I think there's a lot of options to consider. I know folks are talking about a really large school, but I think what the proposal is for two smaller schools that may share some group facilities at one of the locations or the other. So two separate elementary schools with small, separate principals, separate identities that could potentially share, gyms, auditoriums, and things of that nature. So it's logical for people to have a keen interest in it. So it doesn't offend me in any way. It's just on a personal level, I would just hope that we could have at least just wait till we have something to debate or discuss or talk about. Really, right now, we don't even know if the site could support a combined school, either one of them, so we really don't have anything to work off of.
Fair enough. The last topic I want to hit on is something that just happened last night as of the time of this recording. You were there, I think, at the Mall Road Visioning meeting, is that right?
Yes, I was.
So the idea is community members just kind of getting together and talking about what they want for Mall Road. What was your perception of that event yesterday?
Yeah, it started out in the afternoon. We took a great site tour. We probably had about close to 50 interested parties. We drove around to about 6 or 7 different locations in the area, and I tell you, it's one thing to look at a big parking lot from far away, but to actually be standing there in this empty parking lot, and you're just kind of like, wow, this is a lot of empty space down here. It's really eye-opening to see sort of the underutilization of the parking lots, and to consider the possibilities as to how we can enhance those. So we started out in the afternoon with a nice about 7 or 8 stop tour of the different sections of the district that we're looking to reinvigorate for the future. And it was followed up last night with a nice long session where we probably had a solid 60 or 70 residents, some of whom were on the tour, but many of whom were not, that just came, and we broke out into groups, smaller groups, and we just, from my standpoint, I did a lot of listening to just sort of understand what the residents were saying, what the property owners were saying, and it was really a great event. And our economic development director and planning director, Melissa and Liz, they're just doing a great job of. It's a major undertaking, and we have a long way to go, but it really is great to see everybody sitting in the room and collaborating and discussing different ideas for the area, how we could make it better for the community as a whole. You know, what types of things would we want as residents to allow some additional, additional development in those areas.
What did you hear? What, as you were doing that listening, what stuck out to you?
Connectivity really is a big thing. A lot of the attendees were really concerned about making better connections between the different parcels down there. You know, if you try to walk around down there, you can't really walk from Leahy to the district. It's difficult sometimes to cross the mall parking lot to get to the district. So how do we make those all those big parcels down there, which are all great as their own, how do we make it so that somebody can walk, from an office building here to the mall, safely in an enjoyable way? So there's a lot of talk about connectivity, and the other part of it was housing. I think we hear from the state all the time that there's a real shortage of housing in the state. It's hurting us. Including housing in commercial areas has been very effective for the town. I think we just need to look at what's going on at 3rd Ave. It just brings a real livelihood to the neighborhood. So when the workers go home for the day, the residents, there's people that live right there to support the businesses and everything that's going on there. And in an ideal location, you get somebody that, works there and lives there. So you're taking a car off the road and eliminating traffic. So those are two of the biggest things that I heard from the residents that were in attendance is better ways to connect the parcels together. We have some great natural assets in that area, the Mary Cummings Park, the Vinebrook Watershed. How do we connect to those areas? People like to walk, people like to bike, and how do we make it easier for people to get around so they can park their car once and really participate in a lot of different things, as opposed to the way it works now where you park here to go to the store here and then you get in your car again and drive to the next place. And how do we make it just more walkable and more comfortable and more visually appealing for people to do that, and hopefully get some traffic off the road.
Sounds fun to me.
It was great.
So what happens? What do you do with this information now?
Like I say, we're in the real listening phase, and our consultants are working with us. So we have another session this evening, kind of modeling and sort of talking about things in further detail. But all the information will go into the pot, and what we'll try to do is we'll try to craft something that incorporates a lot of the ideas of the residents. But we also have to be conscious of these are property owners. These are very valuable pieces of property, and what would it take to incentivize somebody to create some of these opportunities for the public through their property, and understanding that there's a real world there of they have to finance this with banks and financial institutions, and what's actually viable between sort of what the residents envision versus what the developers could actually do and finance financially. Okay.
I've held off as long as I can. I understand you brought something for me to continue our conversation from the last time you were here.
I do have a present for you. And,
I'm so excited.
As promised from last week, here's a jar of my crushed red pepper.
Sagarino Organics.
I would like you to just have the fire department on speed dial, because it's like a 5-alarm fire in your mouth when you have it. So it's not like the store bought.
So this is like last year's vintage, right? This isn't. It's not like
2022 vintage. Yeah.
Okay.
2023 is in the ground now and growing, hopefully.
Is there anything that I should know about, like what kind of peppers this? I am going to try this on camera.
I can't really give you the secret blend, but there's a lot of cayenne pepper in there, and there's a couple of other variations of hot red peppers as well.
I consider myself fairly hardy when it comes to spicy, but I don't know what to expect. So, okay, let's see how this goes. I brought my water bottle just in case. Ooh, this got a kick. Yeah, that would be good on pizza. It's nice though. It's like got a sweetness to it.
Yeah, it has a kick. It's not overwhelming like some of these crazy peppers that are out there now, the ghost peppers or anything like that you see people doing on TikTok or whatever. But it definitely, I use it primarily on pizza myself.
Well, it's got the Sydney Boles seal of approval. I do like it, and my mouth is on fire. So with that accomplished, I'm going to sign off for now. This has been the Town Administrator Update. I'm Sydney Boles, here with Paul Sagarino. Paul, thank you as always.
Yeah, thank you, Sydney. It's great to be here.